Hello and welcome to Generation Grit, our exciting new series discussing solutions to issues impacting our community through the eyes of Generation Z. I'm your host, Brenton Weyi, and tonight we're discussing some of the biggest issues affecting the disability community and how we can advocate for change in our society. We have an amazing panel with us tonight in the studio, and joining me first is Jacob Ruth. He attends college living experience in order to gain independent living skills as well as career skills. He has worked with e-bikes at Good Turn Cycles and does apprenticing with Piper Jacob Appraising. His goals are to be a show creator, writer, actor, and volunteer with nonprofits. He's currently working as a pizza cook at Brewability. Thanks for joining us, Jacob.
Yeah, no problem.
Really happy to have you here. Also joining us is Bree Levy. Bree is a current paralegal student at the Community College of Denver. They are incredibly passionate about equal access to resources for everyone and hope to carry that into a career. Thanks for being here, Bree.
Thank you for having me.
On the phone, we have tonight's expert, Erin Schipper. Erin is the clinical director at the College Living Experience Denver location. She has over 15 years of professional experience in supporting individuals with learning disabilities, differences, and neurodiversity. Erin has professional experience as a group home manager, a school social worker, and as a clinician in both Effective Needs Classroom and at a community mental health center. We're so glad you could join us, Erin.
Thank you for having me.
We have a quick video that we'd like to play about what College Living Experience does. Let's take a look.
Give me something brighter, give me something I can see. Give me something vicious, give me something I can be. Give me motivation, give me all my heart's desires. Show me something gorgeous, show me till my eyes get tired. Give me all the drums and show me how to play them loud. Show me how to move when I can't feel the drum.
Jacob and Bree, I'd love to get this conversation started with the two of you. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with College Living Experience and sort of the background?
How I got involved with it was through my parents, actually. It was during my junior year of high school that they started looking into something, since college was a hard thing for me to get into, actually, because they couldn't find the right college for me to go to. So they decided to stick me with CLE and give me with those independent living skills.
That's awesome.
I was diagnosed really late in life after a lot of academic challenges. So CLE was kind of the only holistic resource that my psychologist offered upon my diagnosis. And it's been incredible.
Could you talk a little bit about your personal journey and just a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so like I said, I was diagnosed late in life. I was diagnosed when I was 20. And up until then, I didn't know why everything felt wrong, why nothing seemed to go right, why everything was just harder for me than it was for everyone else. And then I got diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, and a host of learning disabilities. And since then, I've re-enrolled in college with proper accommodations, and I'd like to say I'm doing pretty well for myself.
It's really awesome to hear, Bree.
Thank you.
How about you, Jacob?
Where do I begin with my personal journey, actually? I mean, there's a lot in life, but I can go back to the beginning when I was born. I was first diagnosed I think it was the second day after I was born, actually. They diagnosed me with high functioning autism, and my parents became very aware of this, actually. And we kind of hooked up with the Autistic Society originally. Then we kind of backed out a little bit when it was kindergarten, actually. And then after that, middle school was hard. Middle school was really challenging because some things just happened in life, but with me, and this is the saddest one actually, I mean, I was famed for having, weird desires for 13-year-old boys. I was, and this was during 8th grade actually. I was probably 14 at the time when that happened actually, and it really psychologically screwed me up a little bit. Then after, middle school, I moved on with a high school, started fresh, wanted to separate from those people and just go off and do something else. And then I met my own group of friends. I did high school football for a living. I appeared on television 5 times already at this point. The 5th time was over Waterworld with their, sensory issues now coming into play.
Well, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
no
sharing that to both of you. Aaron, I'd love to bring you into the conversation. From your experience, what do you believe that the community could do better in supporting the disabled community?
Sure. I think the first step for the larger community to take in supporting individuals with disabilities is to become more educated about the disabilities themselves and also to gain a better appreciation for diversity. Taking any action steps would also do well in coming alongside and letting those who have disabilities kind of lead the way and kind of following their example about what they need and what they want us to do as supporters of them. There's a mantra in the community that says there is nothing about us without us.
I really like that. And Bree, I could relate. I was diagnosed with ADHD late in life, and actually almost flunked out of college when I was younger.
Before I got my diagnosis, I had dropped out of community college twice. So,
yeah. And I think to Aaron's point, there's sort of this narrative that's just like, oh, just get over it, or just get organized, or just do whatever.
Which it's not possible.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Your brain literally functions in a different way.
Yep.
What do the two of you think that the communities can do better to sort of accommodate for people with learning differences, different kinds of brains, et cetera?
For me, I would just say acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it's there. Don't put it off to the side. Just acknowledge it's there, but acknowledge its existence. Don't, push it off to the side and say, oh, hey, we don't need to worry about this before, it expands into a greater mass. And then it's like, oh, now we do have to worry about this. No, just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it's right there.
Just to piggyback off what both Jacob and Aaron said, there's nothing about us without us. If as a society we can put disabled people at the forefront of what we need, it is going to function so much better than if people who don't live our lives try to dictate our needs. Acknowledging specifically autism, ADHD, OCD, et cetera, acknowledging that as a valid struggle, not just have you tried a planner?
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I lose it. Yeah.
Just set an alarm.
Just set an alarm.
Yeah.
If it was that easy.
As a follow-up to that, Bree, what do you think are the sort of biggest misconceptions about the disabled community, neurodiversity, et cetera?
There are a lot. A big one with a big one is that we are all very different. I can have the same diagnosis as 6 other people in the room, and that diagnosis is going to present 6 different ways. the supports that I need through school are different than the supports that Jacob will need through school, are different than Sally and John. So realizing that all of our needs are individual because we are individuals. We are not our diagnosis.
Anything to add to that, Jacob?
I think B is correct actually, because there are a bunch of misconceptions in society now actually. It's like, oh, this person, you know, acts differently. Well, he shouldn't be a part of any group because he should be a part of like his own group instead of, you know, like exploring. It's like, okay, first off, you were straight up like, you know, just saying, hey, go with your own group while we have our own. Yeah. You know, it's like a form of, what's the right word for this actually?
Maybe like discrimination or exclusion?
Yeah, discrimination.
Yeah.
Like actual discrimination right there, because that's the discrimination way, but that's just how our society misconcepts, you know, some people that are disabled actually. It's like, oh, we don't like you because you act a certain way.
So following up on that, Jacob, I know you have aspirations of being a voice actor and a host and several other things. I'm curious, up to this point, like what has the job search or sort of navigating the professional landscape, how has that looked for you?
That has looked surprisingly successful for me actually.
That's good.
Yeah, no, literally,
awesome.
it's shocking actually. Like I thought I would have to do something else with my life because it was back in junior year where I had this idea. I was just thinking, since I watch a lot of TV, why don't I try to make something of my own? Then once I got involved with a 9 News story covering a, football player with autism actually and playing for a high school team, then that became clear to me, oh, I could do something with this actually. And the voice actor part, that just came from, listening to different voice actors and just being like, okay, how can I interpret it with my own voice?
That's awesome. What about you, Bree? I'm curious.
So I'm going to the legal field, which is a very high pressure, high performing, high organization, which it's a perfect fit, really. I'm being completely sarcastic.
I got that, yeah.
Yeah. Job search has been similar to Jacob, remarkably successful. I've only disclosed my disabilities at one prior job, and it went over really well. There's always that fear of like, am I about to lose this job because I'm about to say that I need accommodations. The job that I'm in currently is outstanding. It's solidified that this is what I want to do. I think that the hardest part for me personally is that I can't do any more school. That is a firm, I cannot handle any more school. So I think that the hardest part for me has been everyone saying, oh yeah, so you're gonna do this and then work for a few years and then you're gonna be an attorney. Nope. No, can't do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's my big cumbersome thing with jobs.
Kind of the obstacle,
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to hear that the two of you have had success up to this point. If you can rub some of that on me, I'd appreciate that. Switching gears a little bit, Aaron, I'd love to ask you, we've talked a little bit about the professional world, and I'm curious, obviously with the disabled community, there's a lot of intersection with the healthcare system. And in your view, what could our healthcare system do to show better support or to, have better foundations for this community?
Some of the gaps in the healthcare system include, a big one is accessibility. It's individuals who have certain insurance providers that will only cover certain things. Some doctors won't take certain insurances. Even accessibility as far as, location and physical disabilities getting into certain offices, which is difficult. There are historically, providers haven't always been well educated in all of the disabilities that they may encounter, but I feel as though this is getting better. And I've personally had experiences with providers who have been exceptional and provided wonderful care. So I think we are making progress in that regard.
Do you feel like the healthcare system has supported you thus far, Jacob?
I mean, I know my healthcare system is Bright Health actually, but for the healthcare system itself, for me, it doesn't apply to me, but for anyone else, it does apply to them. But how do I feel about it is, God, it's like a 50-50. It's like, I'm not sure about it. And it's just like, oh, hey, this is kind of all right. Kind of like that. I'm kind of like split between like two things. It's like, some things about it, we can fix. And I could list the reasons why, but it's a long list, so we won't do that.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. And then there's that, like, okay, there were some things that I like about it, the sensory issue part, actually.
Yeah.
Since Waterworld has now, come out and said, oh, hey, we're having sensory issues for every one of our rides, just to tell you how much sensory and water, chlorine, taste, feel, touch, which is a good thing. At least Waterworld has like opened up to the concept of just saying, hey, we want to include these, the disabled community by, adding sensory issues.
Yeah. So it sounds like other organizations can follow that example of like thinking about how, a neurodivergent or a disabled community individual might like experience the world differently and like providing information so that people can make like informed decisions about that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, actually.
That's awesome. Bree, what about you?
I'm going to say this as mildly as I possibly can. I feel that the healthcare system failed me pretty spectacularly and failed a lot of people like me. I've known that I have ADHD my entire life. I've just always known that I have ADHD. My providers have always been like, yeah, that's probably what's going on. But like Jacob said earlier, but you function fine, so we're not gonna worry about it. And it got to the point where I was exhibiting signs of incredibly severe autistic burnout. I was having migraines every day, twitching, could not go to school, failed 2 classes. And the entire time, every single provider that I saw was, this is actually incredibly common for people of your age and sex. Which, A, that's a different problem.
Right.
B, I feel like a lot could have been avoided if they had just bothered to give me a test. With adult diagnoses, insurance hardly, if ever, covers it. That's if you can find it.
Yeah.
I think that the healthcare system needs to really work on where it helps and hurts disabled people.
Yeah, and it seems like just what the both of you were talking about earlier, this idea of this acknowledgement, right? That like if someone had just sat down with you, listened, and been like, okay, how can we, help you and put up some supports, it would have made a profound difference, it sounds like.
Incredibly, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like, sadly, that seems to be the narrative with a lot of people.
Pretty much everyone that I talk to, if they have physical disabilities, ADHD, autism, etc. Yeah, I have never once heard someone say, oh yeah, my diagnosis process was very easy, painless, everyone believed me first try.
Yeah.
I have never once heard that.
Yeah, and I think something that you've pointed at that seems really important is this idea of like how people appear does not mean that they're not having challenges.
Yeah.
That like just saying, oh, but you're so smart, or oh, you work so hard, or you do so well, that doesn't mean that someone doesn't need accommodations, support, etc.
I've always been incredibly gifted, as weighted as that word is, in language. I was talking early, I was reading early, and that was a big indicator because I was verbal. I didn't have language delays. That was a big indicator that it was like, oh yeah, you have 80% of the other symptoms for autism, but you were verbal, so you're fine. I think that a holistic view where disabled people are just believed.
Yeah. So I know the two of you have worked with CLE for a while, and Jacob, I'd be curious, what are you most proud of, or what do you celebrate after having worked with CLE, or just in your time with the organization?
Probably just thanking them for giving me a very good opportunity, actually, and giving me the skills that I need to, succeed in life and for me to live on my own.
Yeah. What about you, Bri?
Living on my own is something that, again, even before I had my diagnosis, I just had it in the back of my head I'd never be able to do it.
Wow.
I had it in the back of my head I'd just always need a caretaker. And after working with CLE for a year, I, since July, have moved out. I am living solo, maintaining an apartment and keeping both myself and my cat alive. So, yeah, it's, I'm incredibly proud of that.
I think that's something that a lot of people don't even think about, Like even for me, I didn't really, fully think about how it is important that these skills are given to people. And also, I'm sure the confidence as well to be like, I can do this. you
Yeah,
know?
which, with ADHD and the disorganization piece,
Yeah.
there's always that piece of you that's like, will I actually ever be able to cook a full meal without burning something?
Yep. Yeah. that hits a little too close to home for me.
My bad.
No, the good way.
I can feel it too, actually, because I almost burned down my apartment actually while cooking some garlic bread, and in the process I burned my own thumb while doing it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why do you think that independence is important for either you as an individual or just the disabled community overall?
It makes you feel like more of a human being, actually, like a person, because I don't want to spend the rest of my life in my parents' basement. That was the one thing my dad always feared, was like, if you become a basement dweller, I'm kicking you out of the house.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what happened, actually. And my mom and dad were really strict on this, like saying, get a JOB, get a good scholarship, and live your life however you want to be. That's it.
Personally, independence is really important to me because it allows me to dictate where I go and what I do. As much as I adore my parents, it was kind of frustrating getting to be 21 and every time they heard my keys jingle, it would be like hey, where are you going? Who are you going with? When are you coming back? So kind of being able to have that sense of stability in, this is my life. I get to say what happens and what doesn't. And yeah, I think that obviously I can't speak for everyone, but I think that idea of autonomy over our own existence is really, really powerful for disabled people in general.
Autonomy over our own existence. I love that. I'm gonna hold on to that one.
Please do.
I would love to go to Erin with this question. Erin, what would you say to someone who wants to get involved in disability rights advocacy?
Yeah, there's so many opportunities to get involved with the disability community and provide supports and advocacy. You can do this at an individual or group level by seeking out your CCB or PASAs, which are the community center boards, or program approved service agencies. They'll be providing services to individuals throughout the state. Other ways you can get involved is education or fundraising, or another great way, more on a macro level, is to educate yourself about disability rights and disability legislation and laws and get involved in that political level and vote.
And are there any particular resources that you would point to, either for young people or adults, to sort of get themselves in the know?
Sure. There are lots of organizations throughout Colorado. Some of them include the Colorado Cross Disability Coalition, Disability Law Colorado, JFK Partners, the ARC of Colorado, and there's some really great self-advocacy groups, including Speaking for Ourselves and We Connect Now.
Thank you so much, Erin. That's fantastic. I would love some final thoughts from the two of you. Is there anything that you would like to leave people with, something you would like them to know about the disability community, either that they don't know or that you would just like to emphasize while you are on screen?
I mean, I said this once in a Channel 4 news article, but to me, I look at everyone as human beings, like actual human beings. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what your ethnicity is, your religion, your sexuality. I just view you as human beings, and that's with the disabled community as well, actually, that's what I would love to leave with them is everyone is a human being. They have the same, like, features as anyone else. They may act differently, yes, but we have to live with that actually sometimes and just, acknowledge that it happens.
Well said, Jacob.
I think the two things, one is disabled anger is often shut down, and I think that we are allowed to be angry, not destructively, don't hurt anyone, but I think that we are allowed to be angry at how society in general views and treats us. And the second is we're really funny. We are a really, really funny group of people. You just kind of got to get past the dryness or the split second of, am I allowed to laugh at that? We are ultimately a very funny group.
If the banana shirt says anything, it is that.
This is my favorite shirt.
Jacob, Bree, thank you both so much for your time.
Thank you.
That is all the time we have for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something. I certainly did. We're so excited to have a series like this, allowing young people to speak their truth and to highlight all the great work being done in our community. You can find us here every Friday night, or you can watch online at pbs12.org. If you have a question or comment, you can reach out at grit@pbs12.org, or you can reach out to us on any of PBS 12 social media channels. I'm Brenton Weyi, and for all of us here at PBS 12, thank you so much for watching, and have a fantastic night.